Tucker Lutz and Austin Lingo looking to make up for lost time due to injuries. Matt, Tucker Lutz, he had a very long time away. Took on Daniel Pineda. Halfway competitive at the start of it, not at the end of it. Lutz going for a takedown, gets caught in a guillotine. Then he has his back up against the cage, looking for that single leg sweep. Caught in the same guillotine again. Daniel Pineda, does he know guillotines? Does he know guillotines? Can Mookie Betts play baseball?
No, can he ever?
Can he hit? You look at this fight, Matt. For Tucker Lutz on the regional scene, he did very, very good work. And why? Because he was able to mix in wrestling that he gained at a later age, the fact that he was a national amateur kickboxing champ, and Lutz is off to the races. And if you look at it from Melsik Baghdasaryan, Muay Thai experience, kickboxing experience, boxing experience, MMA experience, got submitted early on in his career like Alex Pereira, and then off to the races. And Melsik in the UFC, a pretty darn big favorite in some of his fights. And if you look at it his last time out, was he favored to beat Joshua Kulibau? Well, they were pretty darn close. Melsik looks great at the start. Great in the second. Leg kick. There's a little bit of a stumble. It's just like Terrance McKinney, Faraz Ziam. And what happens? Like peanut butter on toast. Joshua Kulibau goes in, grabs the neck, and gets the submission win. So Baghdasaryan looking to, like a lot of fighters on this card, pick up the pieces. He's working those big left hands with head movement. Edmund Tarverdyan, so still training there. But Matt, for Baghdasaryan, a big opportunity to right the ship. Same thing can be said for Tucker Lutz, because for Lutz, he loses to Pineda, who then goes on to fight the ranked Alex Caceres. So Baghdasaryan kind of getting a chance to almost jump the queue a little bit in a fight like this. And when you look at both of these guys, Melsik is that striker. Can Tucker Lutz match the striking? Or will Lutz kind of go into the well in the back pocket of the grappling, where he's coming back from all those injuries to fight Daniel Pineda?
And that's really what this fight comes down to, because I think for Baghdasaryan, if he's not as concerned about the threat of the wrestling, then it's going to help him open up his own game that much more and be more confident in his own kicks. And I think that's going to be a big part of this matchup. Can Lutz make him pay for taking that foot off the ground? Because if every time Baghdasaryan lifts his foot up, he's maybe not getting taken down, but the distance is getting crashed, he's getting held up against the cage, he's just not as comfortable with distance, that is not going to allow him to really flow with some of his striking. And the thing that I do like about Melsik is when he is really able to flow, when he's kind of hitting you with that, it's sort of an overhand kind of right hook, and then he'll step in with the left, and he can switch stances. It is very dynamic movement from the outside. I think he could overwhelm Tucker Lutz with some of that movement, but on the flip side, if Lutz is able to, maybe not go for the Robert Whittaker, I gotta find a new fighter to say this for, but it's that, fake that single leg takedown, not for a takedown's sake, but just to close the distance so he can land some of his own damaging shots. I actually think that's going to be a great way for him to not only close the distance, but to put out some of the activity that Baghdasaryan himself can throw on the outside.
Bassil Hafez is fighting on the undercard of this weekend. For Lutz, it'll be interesting. Again, a lot of injuries, and I decided, you know what, let's go back and hear from the man himself. The quotables that he had before his last fight. I've been having some nagging injury that flared up real bad with my back, so I went on the shelf all of last year, kind of rehabbing and getting good. Luckily able to swerve the surgeries. That's what he said with one Jake Lippman behind the cage door before his fight against Daniel Pineda. And if you look at it for Baghdasaryan, I know in one of the videos we showed where he broke in his hand and he posted that to Instagram. His last fight out against Kulibau, they referenced some ACL injury that he had in the past. So eager to see how Baghdasaryan plays into this one, because when he's on his game, movement based, look at him fighting Karate Combat Zone, Bueno Silva. Look at him in his UFC debut. Baghdasaryan can really get it done, and he was really peppering Kulibau in his last matchup. So, again, Lutz is one of those guys, if he can work in his wrestling, you see him beating a lot of those guys on the regional scene. He fought twice on Dana White's Contender Series 2020, had to do the old double take, like a discount double take with Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how that plays out when he plays for the Jets this year. But in a matchup like this, I could see a fair amount of people going with Tucker Lutz based on the fact that he's a more well-rounded out of these two fighters, having a more well-rounded skill set. But if we have a look at the odds, Baghdasaryan a more than 2-1 favorite in the fight, and I bet I'm going to say over under 80% Baghdasaryan by the Tapology votes.
Probably over, but while we scroll down, I got to be honest. In my mind's eye, I always think Tucker Lutz is like 35 years old, but he does have a lot more time than I kind of assume.
That's because
I do think that, again, like you say, the injuries, they are starting to add up and whatnot, but at 29, he still does have time to grow his game.
That's because he picked an older man's facial hair as a younger man. So we're saying over under, you're saying over. It is over, 1,127.
A lot of one-sided votes today.
1,127 total votes, 86% Baghdasaryan, 61% by decision for the 14% that have Lutz. It's a large majority, 75% by decision. I do like Melsik Baghdasaryan in the fight. I know he's one of those tricky ones like Tucker Lutz. Loses an early pro fight. Lutz won 12 fights in a row before he's lost his last 2. Melsik loses an early one by submission. Goes on a nice little win streak his last time out. He loses to Culibao in a fight that he was winning off a slip. So for me, I'm going to go with one Melsik Baghdasaryan to get the win in the matchup. Matt, behind the cage door out there, it's Jake Lippman, who I referenced in the interview. So great interviews by Jake Lippman out there. Kind of freaky the way that one works out. Donnie Dimes with the fire in the chat. I have Baghdasaryan in the fight, but this is one of those ones that might surprise people and Lutz pulls out the win.
Yeah, if Lutz was really able to go out there and maybe not dominate with his wrestling, dominate's a bit too strong of a word, but at least implement his wrestling enough to where it helps him open up his own striking game. Kind of the old ally Quinta, you know? Then I do think he has a great chance to win this fight, but I agree with you. I just think the overall movement of Baghdasaryan is going to give him a little bit of trouble going for some of those takedowns.
Aaron 9913, who wins a tag team match? The Allen brothers are the Brothers of Destruction. I saw Samoa Joe on a plane this weekend, and he took on CM Punk on the weekend, Matt. So there is that. Both of us going with Melsik Baghdasaryan to get the win in the matchup. The next matchup on this card, probably going to be your fight of the night. We have Terrance McKinney taking on Nazim Sadykhov. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.